For 50 years, the galaxy knew humanity as the Quiet Ones, the species that learned. They were a peaceful, unremarkable part of the Galactic Confederation, their violent past all but forgotten. But a new species has arrived on the scene. Arrogant, aggressive, they speak of strength and the right of the strong to rule the weak. And they have just crossed a line humanity has not allowed to be crossed in half a century. What happens when the Quiet Ones are forced to remember who they used to be? What happened to the last species that made humanity angry? This is the story of the last species that made humanity angry and the obliteration that followed. Before we declassify this file, be sure to subscribe to this channel and authorize the archive. Some history is too important to be forgotten. Alright, let's open the Keth Mory file. The story begins in the halls of power. Ambassador Anya Sharma walked through the long, silent corridors of the Galactic Confederation building. Around her, aliens of all shapes and sizes filled the massive meeting room. The Vorthans, like giant blue lizards with 4 arms. The Kthar, resembling walking trees with silver bark. Anya took her seat in the human section. For 3 years, she had been Earth's ambassador. She knew how the other species looked at humans. In their own languages, they called them the Quiet Ones. Some of the older races called them the species that learned. She used to think those were compliments. Now, she knew better. Ambassador Thexer of the Zapirian Empire stood. His deep voice filled the room. We gather today to discuss the expansion request from the Zapirian Republic. Murmurs filled the chamber. The Zapirians were the newest members of the Confederation. They looked almost human, but with pale skin that seemed to glow and eyes that changed color with their moods. And for months, they had been making aggressive demands. The Zapirian ambassador, Kyla, stood up. Her skin glowed brightly, her eyes a sharp, burning red. Anya knew that meant anger or excitement. The Zapirian Republic has every right to expand, Kyla announced. We are a growing civilization. We need resources. The neutral zone systems we claim are empty anyway. They are not empty, said Ambassador Valna from the Kthar Collective, her voice like wind through leaves. Peaceful species live on those trading posts. Kyla laughed. A cold, harsh sound. Peaceful species that contribute nothing to galactic progress. The strong should rule the weak. This is the natural order. Anya felt her jaw tighten. She had heard this kind of talk before. In old history files from Earth's dark past. The Confederation was built on cooperation, Anya said, standing. Not conquest. All eyes turned to her. The room fell silent. She could feel the weight of their stares. 50 years after the last Great War, many species still feared humans, even if they tried to hide it. Kyla's eyes shifted from red to a mocking yellow. The human speaks. Tell me, Ambassador Sharma, what makes you think your opinion matters? Your species is barely out of its home system. You have no real power here. The room grew even quieter. Anya heard the Voran ambassador make a low, guttural growl. Other aliens looked nervous. Some shifted away from their seats. Power is not about how many systems you control, Anya replied calmly. It is about how you use what you have. Your people hide behind words and treaties, Kyla sneered. The Zapirian Republic remembers when species had to earn their place in the galaxy. When the strong took what they needed from the weak. Anya noticed how the older ambassadors reacted. The ones who had been in the Confederation for centuries. They looked worried. They kept glancing at her, then at each other. Ambassador Mork from the ancient Zelnari, a being like a floating jellyfish of crystal, spoke up. Perhaps we should take a break. These discussions require careful thought. No, Kyla said firmly. I want an answer now. Will the Confederation support our expansion, or will you stand in our way? The room erupted in whispers. Through her translator, Anya caught fragments. She does not know what she is asking. The Zapirians are too young to remember. Someone should tell them about the Keth Mory. The humans have been quiet for too long. The young ones have forgotten. Anya raised her hand for silence. Ambassador Kyla, before you make any final decisions, perhaps you show. Study galactic history more carefully. History. Kyla laughed again. The past is dead. Only the future matters. Ambassador Thexer stood slowly, his massive form commanding attention. He gave Anya a gesture of respect. Young one, he said to Kyla, you speak of the strong ruling the weak, but you do not understand what true strength looks like. I understand perfectly, she replied. We have the most advanced military in this sector. Military strength is only one kind of power, Anya said, and not always the most important. Kyla's eyes flashed red again. Are you threatening us, human? The question hung in the air. Anya could feel the tension in the room thicken. I am not threatening anyone, Anya said. I am offering advice. When species choose conquest over cooperation, bad things happen. Bad things? Kyla mocked. What bad things? Show me one species that was destroyed for being too strong. The room became completely, utterly silent. Many of the ambassadors were staring at the floor. Ambassador Mork floated to the center of the room. There was a species, he said quietly, called the Keth Mory. They were very strong. They conquered many worlds. They thought they were the most powerful force in the galaxy. What happened to them? Kyla asked, her voice less confident now. They made humanity angry, Mork replied. Anya watched as Kyla looked around the room. For the first time, the Xylan ambassador seemed to notice how the other species were acting. The fear in their eyes. The way they kept looking at her. Where are the Keth Mory now? Kyla asked. Gone, said Ambassador Thexer. Completely gone. Their empire. Their worlds. Their entire species. Nothing is left but empty planets and sealed historical records. Kyla's skin stopped glowing. Her eyes turned a pale, confused blue. That's impossible. No single species could destroy an entire empire. Anya stood again. She looked directly at Kyla. The meeting is adjourned for today. I suggest everyone take time to review the archives before we continue. As the other ambassadors began to leave, Anya heard them talking in hushed tones. The word Keth Mory was repeated over and over. And another word. A word that made her own stomach turn cold. Obliteration. In her private office, Anya called Earth. The holographic display flickered to life, showing Director Eva Rostova at the Global Diplomatic Command in Geneva. Anya, Director Rostova said. I heard about the meeting. How bad is it? The Xylans are talking like the Keth Mory did 50 years ago, Anya replied. Same attitude. Same arrogance. Rostova was quiet for a moment. Anya could see her remembering. Do they know about the Keth Mory War? They know a species called the Keth Mory disappeared. They don't know why. The files are sealed. Maybe, Rostova said slowly. It is time they learned. Access the archives, Anya. Show them. Show them exactly what happens when a species decides to make humanity its enemy. Anya opened the files. The Keth Mory War. Classified at the highest levels. The Keth Mory Empire had been massive. An insectoid species with metallic shells, they controlled over 200 star systems. For 300 years, they had expanded by conquering and enslaving. Weaker species became slaves. Stronger ones were destroyed. She opened a file. First contact. 2387. Captain James Morrison, UES Discovery. We encountered the Keth Mory fleet near the Tidy system, Morrison had written. They demanded we surrender our ship and submit to their authority. When I explained that humans were an independent species, they laughed. Their commander said that all species in this galaxy belonged to the Keth Mory Empire. At first, the encounters were almost peaceful. The Keth Mory saw humans as harmless curiosities. That changed when humanity began to expand. Anya found the report from Admiral Lisa Park. 2389. The Keth Mory have issued an ultimatum. All human colonies beyond the Sol system must be abandoned. Any humans found in their territory will be enslaved or killed. They have given us 30 days. The next file was Earth's response. It still gave her chills. The United Earth government rejects the Keth Mory ultimatum. Our colonies will not be abandoned. Our people will not be enslaved. If the Keth Mory Empire wishes to test our resolve, they will find that humanity does not bow to threats. Anya opened a video file. Rescue ship. New Geneva colony. 3 months later, the colony had been home to 50,000 humans. Families. Children. The Keth Mory had attacked without warning. Anya forced herself to watch the footage. The colony was destroyed. But that wasn't the worst part. The Keth Mory hadn't just killed them. They had made them suffer. The video showed evidence of torture, experimentation, things she couldn't even name. At the end of the video, a young girl's voice could be heard on the rescue team's audio log. She was maybe 8 years old, hiding in the ruins of a school. Please, help us, the girl whispered. They took my mommy and daddy. They said they were going to do bad things to them. Please, make them stop. The rescue team found her body 3 hours later. Anya closed the file and opened the next. A message from Earth's government to every human ship and colony. As of today, the United Earth government declares a state of total war against the Keth Mory Empire. All human resources will be dedicated to the complete destruction of this threat. There will be no negotiations, no surrender, and no mercy. What happened next was something the galaxy had never seen. The pleasant, unremarkable humans transformed. Every human colony became a fortress. Every civilian, a soldier. Every factory began making weapons. And they fought differently. They were creative in ways that terrified their enemies. The Keth Mory expected traditional space battles. Instead, humans used small, fast ships in swarms. They used tactics that broke every rule of civilized warfare. They turned the Keth Mory's own technology against them. The war lasted 3 years. At first, the Keth Mory were winning. But slowly, steadily, the tide turned. Humans learned from every defeat. They studied captured Keth Mory technology and made it better. The final battle took place in the Keth Mory home system. Anya opened the video file from the flagship of Admiral Chun, her own grandfather. The footage showed hundreds of human ships surrounding the Keth Mory homeworld. Attention, Keth Mory High Command. Admiral Chen's voice came through the recording. You have 30 minutes to surrender unconditionally and face trial for your crimes. If you refuse, we will assume you prefer extinction to justice. The Keth Mory response was what everyone expected. The Keth Mory Empire does not surrender to inferior species. We will fight until the last of us dies. Anya fast-forwarded. She had seen it before, but it still shocked her. The human fleet attacked with weapons that turned the Keth Mory homeworld to glass. Not just the military bases. Everything. When other species asked why, Admiral Chen's response became a legend across the galaxy. They chose extinction over justice. We gave them what they chose. The Keth Mory Empire vanished in less than a week. 200 star systems. An entire civilization gone. The galaxy learned 2 lessons. First, humans were far more dangerous than they appeared. Second, there were some things you should never, ever do to humanity's children. Anya closed the files. Her course was clear. She was going to show the Xylans exactly what happened to the last species that made humanity angry. The next morning, the Confederation reconvened. Ambassador Kyla was already there. Her skin was dimmer. Her eyes, a cautious green. Uncertainty. Ambassador Sharma, Kyla said. I spent last night reading about the Keth Mory. The files are sealed, but I found some basic information. They were a powerful species that disappeared 50 years ago. The records say their empire collapsed. That is what most species are told, Anya replied. The full truth is classified. Ambassador Thexer approached, his face grim. I hope your people are prepared. My intelligence sources tell me the Xylans are mobilizing their fleet. 3 battle groups left their home system yesterday. They are heading toward the neutral zone. Before Anya could respond, the meeting was called to order. Kyla stood immediately, her skin glowing brighter, her eyes shifting to a defiant yellow. The Zapirian Republic has made a decision. We will not wait for the Confederation's approval. Our forces are already moving to secure the systems we require. Shocked murmurs filled the room. You cannot simply take neutral territory. Ambassador Valna protested. Treaties are words, Kyla replied. Power is real. The Zapirian Republic has the strength to take what we need. So we will take it. Anya's personal. Comms device buzzed. An urgent message. She read it, then stood. Ambassador Kyla, I have just received a report. Your forces have attacked trading post Omega-7. They killed 15 civilian workers and enslaved 200 others. The room erupted. Omega-7 was neutral territory. Kyla's eyes turned bright red. Those workers were in our new territory. They should have left. You never told them to leave. Anya said, her voice growing colder. You attacked without warning. We do not need to give warnings to inferior species. Kyla shot back. They exist to serve their betters. Anya felt something dangerous and cold stir in her chest. She had heard those exact words before. In the Keth Mory historical records. Her comms buzzed again. Another message. This one was worse. The human transport ship New Hope has been attacked, Anya announced, her voice shaking with controlled rage. It was carrying 500 civilian families to a new colony. The ship was destroyed. With all hands. The room became completely silent. The New Hope was in neutral space, Anya continued. It was clearly marked as a civilian vessel. Your forces destroyed it and broadcast the attack on open channels. They made sure everyone could see what they did. Kyla's skin pulsed with bright colors. She looked proud. The humans were warned. Their deaths are their own fault. Anya stood very still. All around the room, the older ambassadors were moving away from their seats. Some were heading for the exits. Among the dead, Anya said, her voice now a quiet whisper of pure ice, were 137 children. The youngest was 6 months old. For a moment, the only sound was the hum of the air recyclers. Then Ambassador Thexer spoke. You have made a terrible, terrible mistake, he said to Kyla. Mistake? She laughed. The only mistake was that there were not more human ships to destroy. Their weakness disgusts me. Anya activated her comms device. She sent a priority message to Earth. A single, alphanumeric code. A code that had not been transmitted for 50 years. Every human in the galaxy would receive it within the hour. What are you doing? Kyla demanded. I am informing my government that human civilians have been murdered. Your government will do nothing. Humans are cowards who hide behind treaties. Anya looked directly at the Xylan ambassador. Her voice was terrifyingly calm. Ambassador Kyla, in approximately 6 hours, you will receive a message from Earth. I strongly suggest you read it. And after you read it, you will understand exactly what happened to the Keth Mory Empire. Anya gathered her documents and walked toward the exit. The older ambassadors were already gone, their ships undocking from the station. Thexer's voice echoed in the emptying chamber. The young species forgot what they are capable of. Anya paused at the door and looked back at Kyla one last time. The last species that made humanity angry, Anya said quietly. We obliterated them. Completely. I hope your people are smarter than they were. Aboard her transport, Anya received the call from Admiral Marcus Webb, commander of Earth Fleet Defense. His face was carved from stone. The Xylans have destroyed 7 human civilian ships in the past 12 hours, Anya reported. Over 2,000 confirmed dead. More than 500 were children. Webb was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was very cold. Anya, send a message to the Xylan government. Tell them they have 24 hours to surrender unconditionally and release all prisoners. If they refuse, we will assume they prefer extinction to justice. Anya recognized the words. They were almost exactly what her grandfather had said to the Keth Mory. On Luna Station, humanity's peaceful spaceport was transforming into a war machine. Admiral Webb showed Anya the tactical displays. The Xylans think we only have a few dozen vessels, he said. He activated a new display. It showed the real size of humanity's fleet. Anya was shocked. Thousands of ships, hidden in secret bases for 50 years. Why? She asked. Because we learned from the Keth Mory War, Director Rostova said, joining them. We promised ourselves humanity would never again be unprepared. The technology was 50 years more advanced than anyone knew. Stealth systems, advanced shielding, weapons the galaxy had never seen. The message came from the Xylan government. The Zapirian Republic rejects human demands. We do not negotiate with inferior species. Your civilians will suffer the consequences of your foolishness. Admiral Webb nodded slowly. Then they have chosen extinction. Begin Operation Righteous Fury. It wasn't a war. It was a surgical strike. Using advanced stealth technology, the human fleet appeared inside Xylan formations, destroying their military bases in 3 systems simultaneously. The Xylan Third Fleet was annihilated. 0 human losses. The Xylan military, government, and infrastructure were systematically dismantled over the next 3 days. The resistance collapsed. The leaders were captured. But this time, it was different. Why are we being merciful? Anya asked Admiral Webb. The Keth Mory were completely destroyed. Because the Xylans are not the Keth Mory, Director Rostova answered. The Keth Mory committed genocide and refused all offers of surrender. The Xylans are aggressors and murderers, but they are not irredeemable. They can be reformed. Admiral Webb added, humanity learned that power must be used wisely. We could destroy them completely, but that would not serve justice. Instead, we will show them a better way to live. 6 months later, Anya stood once again in the Galactic Confederation meeting room. She was the new chairman. The former ambassador Kyla sat in the defendants section, her eyes a dull, shamed blue. She was there to face trial for war crimes. Humanity has no interest in empire. Anya announced to the assembly. The former Xyland systems are under temporary military occupation while we help them rebuild. We are building schools, hospitals, and democratic institutions. Once they have learned to govern themselves peacefully, they will regain their independence. Kyla looked up, her eyes filled with confusion. I do not understand, she said quietly. My people killed your children. Why do you show us mercy? Anya walked over to stand before her. Because 50 years ago, humanity learned a very important lesson, she replied. We learned the difference between justice and revenge. Your people can be better than they were. She turned back to the full assembly. The galaxy has lived in fear of humanity for 5 decades. You have called us the Quiet Ones. You whisper stories about what we did to the Keth Mory. Today, I want to make our position clear. We prefer peace to war. We prefer cooperation to conquest. But we will not tolerate aggression against innocent beings. And we will never again permit anyone to harm human children without facing the consequences. An ambassador asked what this meant for the future. Any species that attacks human civilians, Anya said, her voice ringing through the chamber, will face the same fate as the Xylans. Their military will be destroyed. Their government will be disbanded. Their people will be taught to live in peace. If they refuse to learn, like the Keth Mory did, then they will share the Keth Mory's fate. She paused, letting the warning sink in. But any species that chooses cooperation will find humanity to be their strongest ally. The choice is always yours to make.